I was just making progress. And I remember that progress was addictive. So that was the thing that really was big for me, is that you don't have to hit that final destination. You just have to see progress, and progress can happen really quickly.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. It's your host, Dr. Kien, aka Dr. V, triple board certified MD, assistant clinical professor at UCLA, and best-selling author of Thrive State, your blueprint for optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. I love the fact that we get to spend a little bit of time together and really up-level ourselves. I not only learn from our guests, I learn from your questions, I learn from the engagement. So thank you for jumping on. And if you haven't already, please do us a favor, subscribe to this podcast, like and comment on, and ask questions and engage with this episode. That's how this podcast grows. That's how I grow as well. And please share it with your family and friends if you find value. Now, today is a pretty special podcast because this is actually one of the first interviews I did, and this interview got lost in the mix. And so you'll see, prior to these episodes launching, what my interview style was like. You could see probably I wasn't the very best version of myself. Lots of ums, a lot of ahs, and a lot of maybe not being as certain, but everything that's new, anything that's worthwhile has a beginning, and you're certainly not going to be, at the stellar level you desire to be in the very beginning, but it's doing the work every single day that will get you there. And the same goes for our health. The same goes for our relationships. The same goes for, anything that we want in our life. It's messy at first, but we grind it out. And the process of growth could be a little tumultuous, but in the end, it's so worth it, right? So where the podcast is today, it has its beginning. And on this interview, you get to see what that beginning looks like. All right. So don't judge me for it, but I think it's a really fun episode to see where it all started. And I can't do a better job, or I have no better guest than our guest today, Nicholas Bayerle, who really went from being somebody who was very unhealthy to being able to grow a very, very big community to a very big company, and has a lot of clout because he had a vision. He had a vision of creating something that was of service, and he's someone you're really going to want to meet, because on today's episode, you'll hear about mindset. You'll hear about having a vision. You'll hear it is important to have progress, not perfection, when you're trying to move forward for something. So let me just introduce our guest. He is Nicholas Bayerle, the CEO of the Billion Dollar Body, best-selling author of The Modern Day Businessman, creator of the Billion Dollar Brotherhood. He's an international speaker, the host of the BDB Podcast, and he's been featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine. And he's also spoken in front of 5,000 people in Funnel Hacker Live. He is a dad just like me, and he lives in Austin, Texas with his wife and baby child. And again, I love him because he is such a great example of what you can create when you have the vision in front of you. How do you bring your dreams closer to you? How do you bring your relationships closer to you? You need to have that vision. And this conversation will give you an idea. If you have something on your mind, how do you then start to apply it so that it can manifest, so it can be real into your life? So I want to start off this conversation. And I'm going to be honest, this is one of the very first interviews I did. I didn't start hitting record until a couple minutes into the interview. So I'm going to admit to this live right now. And what I had asked him was some of his past. He was actually a very unhealthy version of himself. He was actually, in his words, a fat kid. So how did he get from that identity, and how did he move past that? We take off from that part of the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this conversation with myself and Nicholas Bayerle.
I gained weight when it was easy to not have it as well. Okay. So both sides of it. I got fat when it was easy to be skinny, is what people say. So I was a fit kid. I was going to be a professional motocross racer. I was actually the youngest kid in the world to ever start racing bicycles on a track. So I grew up in a family that was very athletic, but more on the extreme sports side of things. And it was interesting because that one negative experience, which I'm sure many people have had, is I wanted the approval of my dad so bad. My parents broke up when I was 4, and even to pause on that real quick, people always ask if you can go back to when you were 18 or to your 18-year-old self or your 7-year-old self and give yourself advice or change something, what would you do? And I physically wouldn't touch anything, because the things that I went through and the obstacles that I went through then became the message that I had and gave me the skills to overcome and then bring it to other people. The only reason I'm able to serve all these men, reach over 2 million of them every single year now, is because of the things that I went through, the struggles, and overcame. And now I found a blueprint and an ability to relate to the actual emotional side of what's going on to make them believe they can do it as well. So going back to the approval from my dad, which was a part of my story, was that that's all I wanted. So I remember, racing motocross, and if I would just keep pushing harder and harder until I crashed or until I got my dad's approval. And he said, that was amazing. Good job. So it got to the point where I thought my dad wanted to be a motocross racer, but he had to have a paper route, and then he had to buy his own motorcycle, and his dad never came to his races. And then so when I was born, my dad bought me a motorcycle at 4 and gave me all the things he would have wanted, but expected me to react the same way that he would have reacted, even though he had immense desire built over time of thinking about what he wanted forever. And he gave me something that I never even thought about. So how would I ever have the same reaction? So I wanted to give him that reaction. So at about 12, 13, I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I want to be the best motocross racer in the world. Now, when you think of Talladega Nights, they say, if you're not first, you're last. That was like the big funny part of that movie. When I watched that, I was like, yeah, like that's how I grew up. I'd never even thought if I was second place, I wasn't even going to go for it. If there was no ability to win, if there was no ability to get the hand raised, if there was no ability to get the first place trophy, I don't want to play. And so I go to my dad and tell him this. I want to get a tutor. I want to go on the road. And he looked at me and he said something that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And he looked at me and said, you'll never be the best. And I was like, all right, that's it. Didn't talk to him for 3.5 years. Lived at my mom's house 10 minutes away. He knocked on the door all the time. I would never answer it. And then I got overweight and I got embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was living not who I was. Like, it was weird. I was in this body that I was like, this isn't who I am. So I'm ashamed to go out and show it because I know that people are getting to know a piece of me that isn't me. Not to mention the pressures of, my dad would say, if you can pinch an inch, you're fat. All right. If you took an inch and you put it to your stomach and you can pinch something, you're fat. So I was super embarrassed by that. And that's what led me to then 17 years old. This is how easy it can be to live an inspiring life. It doesn't have to be huge podcasts or all these credentials. This kid came to school and by his actions, he pulled out a bag of fruit, which back then we ate cinnamon rolls and orange chicken, and that's what you did. And I was like, why did you eat that? Now, realize when I said, why did you bring that to school? That was vulnerability. I was wearing a sweatshirt every day because I was embarrassed. I used to tape down my man boobs every day until I got blisters because I'd literally use duct tape to tape down my man boobs so that I looked better. I'd only wear logos. So to put myself out there asking for help almost, that's already a huge step. And I don't think we honor that enough. I was like, why did you bring fruit? Everyone could have been like, you're freaking fat. Why are you asking that? Like, that's what kids did back in the day. And he said, I'm a boxer. I need to weigh in at the correct weight. So I got a coach and he's my trainer and I need to be a high performer. And it just clicked for me. And I realized in that moment that there's 2 different types of people stuck right now. Number one is you're not educated on what to do, but you're super motivated. Like that, at that point in my life, I was looking for something, but I had no clue how to change my situation. I thought that I was just stuck. I was off the rails. I had no clue what to do, but I was ready to take action on something. That's very rare nowadays. Nowadays, it's the second type of stuck person. They know everything. They're the people that message you on Instagram and say, well, have you looked at virgin olive oil compared to expeller pressed olive oil or cold pressed because of XYZ? But then they're out of shape and overweight and they don't apply anything that they do. And they still drive through McDonald's and sit there and get a Big Mac. Like these are the people that know everything, but they don't actually apply it. And here's the problem with that is information plus application equals transformation. This is common like mathematical cool equation that makes you feel good. If I know something and I take action on it, then it'll create a result. Well, knowledge, the information minus application actually creates unbelief. Meaning that no matter how much I get to know or how much knowledge I get, it doesn't change my situation. And so we end up getting in this paralysis because we're like, I feel like I need to know more to be able to take action. But for some reason, every single time I know more, I don't take action. And then it creates more unbelief. And now my subconscious mind is always telling me, no matter how much you know, you never do anything about it. No matter how much you try, you never do anything about it. And we create distrust in ourselves. And so that was the transformation for me. I left that literally that one moment of talking, never talked to the kid again. I lost 60 pounds in 6 months.
That's amazing. So I
ordered literally the same fruit as well. Like I literally was like, Mom, I need strawberries. I need a banana. I just starved myself, dude. I didn't know what to do. I was motivated though. And I had something to be able to take action on.
So tell me, it really sounds like, it was the events around what your dad had said that maybe made some kind of mental or emotional shift. Can you remember what you were thinking and what you were feeling when you were unconscious about your eating habits that led you to be 60 pounds overweight?
Oh, dude, it was so weird how this happened, right? I was a kid that wrestled my freshman year in high school at 99 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I quit wrestling because I had that moment with my dad. My grades dropped below a 2.0. I had a 1.8. I only graduated because I went to summer school every year. And then all of a sudden, it's the end of the year PE class. So we're talking a few months. I step on that scale and everyone knew me as a small kid. So everyone's thinking I was the shortest kid in 8th grade. Everyone's thinking, oh, how much did you weigh? And I was like, holy freaking crap. I've already gained like 30 pounds and I wasn't growing. I didn't even hit puberty till like 17 years old. So I was like at this point where I was like, holy crap. I had no clue that this even happened. Yet this is the interesting thing that I found is that I was just eating whatever was around me, right? My mom didn't know how to cook. I ate Schwans. I ate mini corn dogs. I ate pizza bites every single day. I would constantly, my mom would get Nutter Butters in a 2-gallon jar and I'd eat the whole thing in the weekend. Just like constantly going down, eating and just indulging. And I didn't know really what it was going to do for me. And even when I tried to eat healthy, I'd go to Jack in the Box and I'd get those big fruit smoothies, probably like 1,000, 1,200 calories, whatever it was. But I felt healthy because that's the example that I had. On top of that, it was all like emotional. So my parents would sometimes call me fat. And then I wouldn't eat for a day or two and act all down. So I'd get attention. Right? Like now looking back, I'm like, I wasn't actually trying to change my situation. I was just trying to do desperate things to be able to get attention because I didn't know how to change my situation. Then I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book. And I thought that was so interesting in his Total Recall book, how he would literally cover up his entire body besides the worst parts. For him, it was the calves. So he'd go to the gym, cover up his whole body, his awesome biceps, his pecs, everything, only show his calves. And I thought, what's the difference between him and I? For me, I covered up every single bad part of my body. I wore the same type of underwear, the same type of pants. I would stand on the back of my shoes to make me look taller in pictures. I'd wear a sweatshirt so that it covered my entire body. I wore logos on my shirts so that people couldn't see my man boobs. Why? Because for me, I thought that I couldn't change my situation. For him, he knew if he focused on that weak point in his body, he'd be able to make it strong. And all of a sudden, I started seeing that I could actually create transformation. For the people out there that are listening that maybe feel like they're stuck, the cool thing about this was that when I first started taking action, just literally looking at what I was eating, I didn't have any guru like you. I didn't hire one until I was 19. So at this point, I was doing it all on my own. I was literally eating salad out of a bowl with no utensils, with nothing on it. 3 croutons I allowed myself. This was like my big thing. I'd eat fruit and I starved myself. I'd eat 1 mini corn dog. I'd eat 1/2 of a potato skin because that's all that I had. And I remember stepping on the scale 2 weeks after I'd started doing this, and I saw that there was movement and progress. And Tony Robbins talks about this a lot, that progress equals happiness, not the final destination, but that progress. I was like, dude, it's freaking on. I went and called my dad. I went and talked to my dad again. I went and got my license. I didn't even get my driver's license because I'm like, I'm freaking fat. I live in San Diego. I ain't going nowhere. I don't want even the ability to go out. I just want to be able to stay in. And that gave me the confidence. So I wasn't fit yet, dude. I didn't have any abs yet or any of that stuff. I
Yeah.
was just making progress. And I remember that progress was addictive. So that was the thing that really was big for me, is that you don't have to hit that final destination. You just have to see progress, and progress can happen really quickly.
That's amazing. I mean, we always say progress over perfection, and don't let perfection stop you. And that's really, really key. Now, let me ask you, when you started to make that transformation, you're really in the space now where you're helping men transform their health, their businesses, their mindsets, and their relationships. Tell me, how did you just start picking up the tools in all these different categories?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I started the health company, so I lost to 60 pounds. I then hired a trainer at 19. This is where I started diving in. I had never been to the gym before. So I lost the weight with never going to the gym, because I thought you had to be fit to go to the gym, but I didn't know how to get fit and understand how to use the equipment without ever using it. So I was in this mental mix up dilemma, because I thought, if I go bench press and I don't know how, what if someone there sees me and I suck at this thing? But how are you supposed to get a bench press and you never do? Or even at least get familiar with it, right? You could do body weight workouts, all this stuff. And so I hired this trainer, and all of a sudden I was able to eat food and actually feel full and eat a lot of it. And I was getting leaner and I was getting stronger, and I was going to the gym with him every single day for an entire year. And it was so interesting to see that transformation and how much it transformed me. Then I became really close with my Navy SEAL mentor, Yos, which I worked at his house with Navy SEALs for 3.5 years. That was mostly Olympic weightlifting, high intensity stuff, and just dumb stuff that wouldn't be that healthy for your body, but it was really, really fun. Like running until you passed out, and who passed out first was a cool thing. And so we just do stupid stuff like that. Yet inside of my business, I thought that your body's your billboard. That's what you got taught. Personal trainers, your body's your billboard. I didn't have any certifications. I didn't have any nutrition certifications. All I had was my personal experience and then my education that I had outside of that. So I was failing because there was all this Mr. Olympia and all these people that were trying to transform bodies that had a better billboard than me. And what I saw was that at the time I had lost the weight. And so I built a blueprint of what I did, not to lose the weight because I starved myself, but the way that I actually did it sustainable afterwards. I was like, man, if I could bring that to my old self, that'll be key, dude. I could have eaten all this meat and I didn't even know any of this. I was like, what the freaking heck, dude? I was just eating raw salad, feeling hungry all the time. And so in that business, I had to be the guru. A guru business model is I was here, I got here, and now I'm going to help everyone else who's pretty much worse than me get here, or they're lacking in this area that I know, and I'm going to give that to them. Whereas now inside of BDB, you talked about health, wealth, relationships. That was the thing that kept me from reaching all these men that own businesses and talking about these areas, because I've lost 60 pounds, but I haven't gained, I'm not 200 pounds of muscle like my friend Alex Hermosi down the street. I've been married for almost 9 years, but I haven't been married for 25. I have one kid, but I don't have three. I don't have a daughter. I have a multi-million-dollar company, but I don't have 8-figure, 10-figure billion-dollar company. So, and one of my guys, he's sold over $1 billion. So how could I help them? And that's through not doing the guru model. In my model, I'm the reporter, much like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the talking. You're just asking the questions. I'm doing all the freaking hard work over here, which is a joke, obviously. For me, it's the same way. I bring in the very best in these different areas. And the way that I found it is that I coached 600 men with virtual health coaching. We did 600 clients, and we did them from $3,800 to $12,500. And in that, we basically just specialized in getting them to do the things that they knew they were supposed to do, and then traveling and stuff like that. And so throughout that process, I realized, dude, these guys, they're getting on the phone and they're asking all these health questions for 8 weeks. And then it's oh man, I got in this fight with my wife, and then I had this hard business thing. And I'm like, if they just did better in business, then they wouldn't have a problem with this area of their health, doing the things they weren't even able to apply. That's when I realized it was almost like a ship or a little boat. And I was plugging the hole on health for me. And I was and then it just made more pressure go to the other areas of their life. And my calling, I felt man, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to help with all these areas, but I haven't done it before. I haven't been married as long. And that's when I was you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to instead of having one product that serves these different one type of person or all these different types of people, I'm going to work with only the man that owns a business. And I'm going to go through the 3 areas that we say you can't outsource this, or the 3 dimensions, which is the health, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. Can't outsource it. Like you could get help, but if they don't take the peptide, if they don't actually go to the, if they don't actually eat the food, you're not going to put the fork in their mouth. Relationships, intimate relationship, family relationship, people that are like family, friends, network, can't outsource it. Like no one's going to have sex with their wife for you. Hopefully not. So try to figure that out. And then when it comes to the business, no one's going to cast the vision. When I saw that, I was like, this is what my calling is going to be. And I'm not the biggest expert. I can just talk about what I've done, but I bring in the best experts.
That's amazing. Where do you find the men that are coming into your world say yes to you? I mean, is there a particular problem that they're feeling? Is it more of an emotional thing that's coming in? Is it their health that's bringing them in? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so there's a few different things. One, they want to grow a business. It's one of the biggest things. Like if I just grow this business, everything will change. But the second one is the community. We built the brotherhood. So inside of that, they're seeing, especially in a time like right now, that they're like, I'm not able to go out there and connect with these people, but also they've never been able to connect with like-minded men before. Mm-hmm. Many of them have felt like it's always competition or men are always going to put them down. And so they're in this place where they're like, man, I know that this is what I need. I need this place where I can share things that I can't share in other places. I need this place where I can get supported because we're out there as businessmen. We're the rock that's supporting everyone else all day. And then they come here and they finally have a place where they're like, I can be supported. I can actually tell people what's going on. And so that community aspect, from the fact that it's the networking aspect all the way to the support aspect and the social accountability aspect and the actual accountability aspect, that's what they want. Yet they're all here. They want to become 3-dimensional, and they all come here because of the story. And that's what we teach. I talked about that when I started looking at my problems differently. Like I hid my whole life when I was overweight because I thought my problem defined me. Now, all those different stories are what actually connect the people to us. We utilize 4 different stories. Number 1, our mission and vision. We're redefining what it means to be a businessman. We're taking our model that we're doing with these men and their families, and we want to consult every major world leader. So that's a big vision. My story, other people's stories, and then epiphany stories. Things that just get people to understand, right? If I remember there's Keto OS or something like this. What's that company called? Have you heard of this?
Prove It, I believe.
Prove It. I think I've maybe tried one of their things once, but I've never bought anything. My friend, though, they couldn't sell their stuff because no one understood it. So my friend was like, but isn't it kind of like if you eat carbs, like this is their way of saying it, right? Their epiphany story is if you eat carbs, it's kind of like igniting the fire. It's like the little scraps that you use to ignite a fire. It burns quick, it burns fast, and then it's gone by itself. And going into ketosis is kind of like having a big log, like it lights you up and it keeps you fire and warm all night. And like in this explainer video that he created is what built the entire company. If anyone goes to their company sites now, they'll see this cartoon video that literally tells that story. And that story is what got everyone to understand what keto was, because no one understood what it was or what it did or how it was better than anything else that they had ever tried before. So we utilize those stories as well. Why I think it's relevant is that there's a reason why everyone listening right now either applies or doesn't apply the things that they're taught on these podcasts that they learn from you. There's a reason why they apply it. And usually it comes down to their own epiphany of why they should do it. The best way to give an epiphany or to have an epiphany, whether they're trying to convince their friends and family, or even if you're trying to get them to do something, is to tell the story, either that the way that you found out about it, or a way that makes sense that they would understand, right? Jesus did this. Like he talked to farmers and crap, right? It's like, he was like, he could go to them and be like, change your mindset, change your world. But instead he was like, hey, like, when you plant a tree and it doesn't produce any fruit, like, what do you do with it? And they're like, oh, you rip it up and then we plant a new one. It's like, yeah, like do that with your life. And they're like, oh, got it. Because he spoke in a way that they understood. The other way is telling the unique story. When I talk about my story, people may come to the conclusion on their own, man, I should do the same thing. But I didn't tell them, even though I did. I just did it through the story, and I allowed them to come to the conclusion that they thought that they came to on their own, but they really didn't. I'm the one who planted that, kind of like Inception.
This episode of the Thrive State Podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that Thrive State is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast.
That's the power of stories. Have you realized that your story from, in the past 5 to 10 years have changed and evolved pretty rapidly? And how many times has that changed for you?
So what do you mean by the story? I want to make sure I hit this correctly. Like what's changed in the story? You mean like, I look at my past or?
Yeah, exactly. The way you look at your past, the way you're retelling your story, during the growth of your business, have you found that, it sounds like from what you've told me, just now, that it was starting this group and it was really seeing what the men needed, really kind of started to transform the way you saw yourself and how you were going to serve them.
Totally. So when I first started the business, I thought of what's the product that I could sell people. That's what I thought about. It's like, I'm going to create the product, which I was like, all right, maybe like accountability and meal plans and workout plans and supplement guides and all this stuff. And then I was like, okay, I got this product. I'm going to go out there and sell it to people. And when I shifted this opposite way, which I call it, most people say that you need to make money. And if you make enough money, you can then gain influence because now you have credibility. Now you could say that this is all these like doctorates and all these different things. If I just do enough, then people will like respect me and they'll have a reason to follow me. So I thought if I make enough money, then people will follow me. So you have many of these influencers out there, they say they're not. They say, oh, I'm just working in silence. I don't post on social because I'm actually doing real work. So they probably fit in that category. And then they'll gain influence. And then once they gain influence, then they'll be able to go out there and make an impact. For me, I saw that it was actually the opposite way that worked for me. I first thought about, all right, I'm selling this stuff. I'm making 35 grand, 50 grand a month, but it's hard. Like I'm out there having to grind and sell it to people. It's like, what if I just started? I took all these men that we had and I said, like, what's the impact that we want to create? And that's what I talked about, redefining this businessman and then consulting the major world leaders. I was like, man, that's cool. So then what's a way that we could take the community and figure out what their biggest wants are?
Yeah.
And what if we just created products that achieve their wants? And there's 2 different sides of this for people that are wondering, like you communicate to the people what they want, and then you give them the things that they actually need. I have a friend of mine who has an education company that basically is very bland. It's like, be balanced in life. Yet he gets them in by saying, this is the quickest way to become a millionaire. And they're like, really? And he gets them in. He's like, this is the process, the real process, not this. So he packages it up, and then inside the package is this actual great treatment. Most like if you were to say, this is the number one way to skyrocket your energy, have longevity, and feel like you're 25 when you're 50. They're like, what is it? What's the pill? And if you're like, hey, actually, it's not a pill. Like, you follow this schematic, this blueprint as a lifestyle, this is how you're going to get there. But they bought it because they're like, I want that result. And so inside of that, that's where everything changed, is when I started creating, that's how I created the Brotherhood. I'm like, this is what the guys want and what they need. And literally the 2 days that I opened it, we sold like 280 grand for the first initial opening of the Brotherhood. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. What I found inside that is the community dictates the health. You know, they had all these bad friends. That's why I was like, they need the community. They're working with me, they're getting healthy, and then they're getting unhealthy with their friends and family. They're getting mediocre again. And though they're better than they were, that's not what I'm here to do. Like, I can't promote that and be excited about it. Now that they have new friends, dude, they're doing it. They're like out there taking action on stuff. Now they just need to listen to stuff like yourself to make sure they're actually taking action on things that are most productive.
Yeah, I know so many entrepreneurs now, and you bring up such a great point. So many people are focusing on a program or a product. You focused on the community, but did you say that was something you needed to start off to get the community? And how would you recommend, a lot of, starting off entrepreneurs who might not have a community as to how to best serve them?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that will say, get one product that serves one person. Like, just one product that serves one person. And that's awesome. For me though, and what we've helped other people do, is I started building the community. So I started figuring out what's the impact that I want to create. And I look at it kind of like this. Most people don't have a mission. They don't know what they want to do. But every single person on the winning Super Bowl team gets a ring, even the guy who sits on the bench.
Yeah.
And people want to be on that winning team. So if I can cast a vision, like, we're the winning team, people want to be a part of that just because they want to be a part of the transformation. They want to get the Super Bowl ring as well. So what happens is we start creating community around that. When I start saying we're redefining what it means to be a businessman, like, we're creating the most powerful group of businessmen on the planet that want to have success without sacrifice, people are like, I want to be a part of that. So now I've gathered these people in through that, my story, other people's stories, and creating these transformations in the group. Now it's just taking those people and going, all right, what's the core need that they have together, and how can we solve it? And that's how I really built my company. Was I didn't need to create that product first and then go get success with it. I just didn't know what else to do. Right. And that's where hiring people like Russell Brunson for $50,000 a year, that came in, and all these mentors and coaches and people that you can learn from to be able to have their ceiling become your floor. Think about that. Like, they're here and this is where their head's at. And they're like, all right, I'm going to bring you over here and I'm going to put you right above me, where my ceiling becomes the place that you start out at. And that's the power of mentorship.
That's amazing. Who has been the best mentor you had in terms of your health-wise? Who is your biggest mentor?
It's a great question. So there's a guy named Spencer Robbins. It'd be interesting if people go reach out to him. Spencer Robbins, you can look him up. And he definitely was the biggest one for me. Shredded dude, great shape, very knowledgeable. And him and his wife built an amazing business now. Yet the reason why is because he gave me the foundation, and he was someone who lived it and lived it right next to me for a whole year. That was at 19 years old when I learned about back in the day, the zone diet, eating 40, 30, 30. And that was pivotal for me, because I thought, I need to eat this many blocks and I need to eat this much food every single day. I was like, dude, I could do that any day. Like, bananas, 3 blocks, tablespoon of peanut butters, 3 blocks. Like, let's go. And that was just very pivotal for me understanding, like, what does food do? How much can I eat? Because as a high performer, what do? We end up going like way extreme. So I'm like, I need to work out 2 hours or 3 hours because I don't think I'm going to do enough. I need to eat less because I don't think I'm going to do enough. I want to get there fast. And so I need boundaries. Like, I need to know, how much do I need to do to become successful? How much can I eat? Because if not, I'll go to the extreme. I'll overwork, I'll undereat, I'll do all these things that will cause other problems. And so boundaries create freedom. And he created boundaries for me. The reason I say boundaries create freedom, on a playground, if they put kids on a playground with no fence, kids will all play around the jungle gym. very small diameter around it, like all around this jungle gym. If you put a fence around the playground, kids will play all the way to the fence. They'll go all the way to the limit because those boundaries allow them to know how far they can go. Roads are boundaries, but they help you get places fast. Like, though you can't go off road, it's a very small lane. It's what gets you places really, really quick. So boundaries create freedom. And for me, the boundaries is how much do I need to do to work out? So that was the biggest health mentor. Yost Jansen as well. When it comes to mindset, that was my Navy SEAL mentor. He's been a mentor of mine for 11 years. He's the one that really got me to stop being a baby. You know, like, I thought that I couldn't do a lot. I thought that I couldn't lift a lot. And he was the one that just like, I thought that I couldn't work out when I was hurt. Not saying you do, you're the expert here. But, you know, a lot of times he was like, no, dude, you need to move. You don't need to sit. Like, you need to go move this. You don't need to just sit on it and let it heal. All these things, it was very mentally transformational for me, which is even more important than my physical transformation. People listening, if you gave them a shredded body like yourself, they'd end up making it out of shape again because they don't know how to get a result, keep a result, or to grow a result. It's like winning the lottery. People end up going broke. You have to go see a psychologist psychologist, I think it is, or get therapy before you can receive the money from winning the lotto now because it jacks people up so much.
No, for
because
sure.
all they're seeing is their life go backwards. And so same thing with this. It's like, if people can be taught how to create a result, how to keep a result, how to grow a result, that's what gives them power because they have the actual power inside of themselves rather than outside of themselves to create a result.
This is such a great tangible example. I mean, I talk about mindset as being one of the bioenergetic elements that actually drives our cellular behavior, but you've gone through and you've experienced this. What would you say your relationship is with mindset to actually getting the health result that you want?
That's a great question. I would say the biggest thing, like you've talked about mindset, and we can talk about mindset when it comes to stress, right? Worrying about the future or feeling bad about the past and what that does to your body now, or shame. I didn't hit the gym, or I didn't eat the right foods, self-sabotage, focus, whatever you focus towards, you're going to go towards. You know, there was this health kick back in the day that was like, instead of eating bad food, let's just picture it. Like, just act like you're eating a Big Mac and somehow that's going to be satisfying. No, it creates desire. Like, whatever you think about creates desire. So all these people are like, don't eat ice cream, don't eat ice cream, don't eat ice cream. And they're like, oh, I just need to do it one last time. And then after I have enough, I'll feel good about myself. And then I won't do it again. And then it's like they feel empty afterwards. So I would say the biggest health mindset shift for me was the definition of commitment. The definition of commitment is doing what you said you were going to do after the feeling you said it in its past. I learned this from my Navy SEAL mentor, especially. They'd be overseas and it'd be super cold out and 50-degree water. And they'd be sitting there by the campfire at nighttime. And they're like, you know, it sounds amazing. Their stomachs are full. They feel good. And they think, we should swim in the morning. We should go on like a 2-mile swim. And they're like, yeah, dude, like, let's do it. And then they wake up in the morning and it's cold. It's 50-degree water. They're not full anymore. They're not comfortable. And then they want to back out on the things that they committed to. And he taught me that it's easy to follow through on commitments that you made to other people. Like, if I said, I'm going to be on this podcast at this time, I'll show up because I don't want to let you down.
Right.
But people are okay letting themselves down. They say, I'm going to go to the gym at this time. I'm going to start this diet at this time. I'm going to go talk to this doctor at this time. And then they don't ever end up doing it. And they end up having distrust with themselves, which is the worst distrust you can
And
have.
how do you build that back? Because I have so many clients on my own that, we run through the same type of problems with them. What would you say is a good way to build accountability with yourself?
Here's a step-by-step system right here. Number one, write down where you want to be. There has to be a tangible place that you're going towards. Most people, they focus on just where they want to be. Not good. You don't go into the gym and say, lose 60 pounds, lose 60 pounds. Come on, I got to lose 60 pounds. No, you have that so that you can create a plan. You create a plan to lose 60 pounds, normally from an expert. Then all you have to do that day is stop focusing on tomorrow's workout and tomorrow's stuff. If I just asked them to follow the plan for one day and I gave them $1 million, could they do it? Yes. Cool. Let's just do that every day, just one day at a time. Because all we have to do now is focus on the actions, not the outcomes. because actions create outcomes.
Mhm.
And the actions aren't creating the outcome we want. All we have to do is change them. Yet not doing them is not going to get us there. So going back to focus on actions and even further bringing in the target. When you think of shooting, my wife's taking lessons right now. Pew, pew. If you want to be a good shooter, what they have you do is they bring in this target to 5 yards, 3 yards, and you shoot until you don't miss in this certain proximity. And then they push it back 5 yards. And then if you miss with that clip or that magazine, they bring it back in. And oftentimes we're like, I want to be this fit, or we set the target like way the heck out there. And we're like, this is who I want to be. I want to work out 7 days a week and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, we just need to bring in the target real quick. How about we go like a whole month of 5 days, you show up? How about for 5 days, for 5 days a week for the whole month, like you drink this much water? And all of a sudden now their actions that can be done in a short period of time, not outcomes, right? Oh, I didn't lose the 10 pounds this 2 weeks. No, like what are the actions that we did? So we'll say water. Maybe you can tell them how much, but let's just call it a gallon real quick. If it's a gallon of water, well, if it's 10 p.m. and you've drank 30 ounces of water, you could drink that water before you go to bed. You'll pee all night and you'll be super frustrated, wake up. Yet that's a good lesson to learn rather than being like, I'll just do it tomorrow. So notice there, it's something that I can actually do and I can do it right now. Those are the things I want to make sure that we have to build trust with ourselves. And it's something that's bringing in the target. So when I got here to Austin, I hadn't been to the gym in, 8 months or 7 months or something. So I said, all right, cool. Like my goal for this first 8 weeks is I just want to go there 5 days a week. And then I want to get through the workout that I have just written down. I don't care what weight. I don't care how much rest. I'm just going to go through it. But what happens is you end up building a habit. And I brought back the target and I feel successful because I actually did it. So I know I'm successful, but 2, I know how I'm successful. See, like if I say, this is what makes me successful, I now know when I'm successful rather than just going to the gym or eating the food and saying, did I eat too much? I don't know if I ate enough. Did I work out hard enough? Did I do enough at the gym? Did I drink enough water? Because we don't know when we're successful. So those are the 3 core pieces right now to start building trust with yourself. And last one is just start saying no more and yes less. Like just stop committing to things that you don't want to do. Someone called me up and said, Nicholas, do 75 hard with me 3 times now. Every time I said, no, thanks. I don't want to. If I want to do it, I'll do it and I'll actually do it. But I'm not going to do it and then fail because I don't want to do it. I'm not going to say yes to it just because. And so I've gotten really good at being like, I'm not going to do that because I want to make sure I follow through and am consistent with the commitments that I make.
That's amazing. I think what I add to a lot of my clients is, one, focus on the action, not the outcome, but also focus on the feeling and try developing that muscle and cultivation of the emotion of feeling what that desired outcome is along the way.
Totally. Goal not emotionalized is just a wish. So really, that's very smart what you just said. A goal not emotionalized is just a wish. If you can't feel it or see it or taste where you're trying to go, you're not going to have that desire we talked about. You're going to be desiring the stuff that you don't want. Like if you're going to stop desiring the crap that you don't want, we have to replace it with something that you do want, or else we're just going to end up having that desire come back even worse.
And just to, tap into kind of that emotional piece, are there things that you do every day, whether it be, meditation, whether it be a workout? What is it that, bulletproofs your emotions when your emotions kind of go off or your mind goes off? How do you get back to center?
Yeah. So it was very easy when health was my only focus. And it was very easy when I just got married and it was just me and my wife. And it was very easy when I was just trying to grow the business and I didn't have a son. And like each little thing like makes it that much harder.
Yeah.
And so I would say it was very easy until my son was born. That was like, I had all the time in the world. It was just all about my wife and I. Wake up, do my little routine. I could hit the gym later. I could hit it earlier. It didn't really matter. And nowadays the biggest thing for me that we've done is we've created a BDB ritual. And if someone like messaged me on Instagram, I'll kind of like send them the template. But every single day we write out 3 to 20 things that we're grateful for. After that, we write the intention for the day. Like, what's the overarching theme? Like, kind of like show up to the gym. That's not the plan, but it's like the theme. And then in health, wealth, relationships, we have our core objectives, the things that we want to accomplish that month or that week. And then that day, we make sure that everything that we do aligns with those things. So if there's anything on the to-do list that doesn't align with that, so every day I literally write out what my 5 attributes of health are. I want to breathe well. I want to hydrate well. I want to sleep well. I want to eat well. And I want to exercise well. And I figure out, am I aligning with this? Am I tracking this? And can I be successful with it? And so for me, I literally have to write it out every single day. I write it out in a physical notebook. I have tons filled with them. Or I write it out on my Google Docs over here, and I keep it in front of me all day. Like, all right, like, well, am I doing this? And the last thing is I like to create positive now, sometimes negative, but I don't need more negative right now. So I create positive outcomes if I do that. So it's like, all right, if I hit the gym 5 times this week, what do I get? Usually it's stuff that I already would get, but now I'm just creating, if I do this, then I will get this thing. It might be a meal that I really love and enjoy. I'm like, oh, cool. So every day when I think about it, I'm like messing with myself. Like, you really don't want to have that? Like, just go to the gym, just get this done. And then you'll be able to get that at the end of the week.
That's amazing. It's so much value you've given us today. We're running a little bit low on time. I've got one last question for you. But before I ask that question, where can people find you?
So Nicholas Bayerle on Instagram, would love to just say hi, say what's up. And then the other way is we actually have a Facebook group that when you join it, you get my physical book for free. So I cover the shipping, everything. It's not like you don't have to even enter in a credit card information. You just need to know where to send it. And it's called the Billion Dollar Brotherhood. This is a men's only community. And then everyone can go follow me on Instagram and connect there.
That's beautiful. All right. My last question is, you've got so much going on in your life. What do you think has been your best medicine? What has healed you the most and taken you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I don't get ever asked this, which is very interesting. And when I was 18 years old, I had never been to like a church before. I thought that women went to church and men didn't because my stepmom went and my dad didn't. So we'd stay home. I literally didn't know anything about any like spirituality or any of this stuff. I remember someone asking me in school, are you Catholic or Christian? As if it's like the only two things. And I said, well, which ones drink a lot? Like a lot of alcohol. And they're like, Catholics. I was like, oh, we're definitely Catholic then. So I told everyone after that, I was like, we're Catholic because we drink, my parents drink a lot and all these things. And so I ended up going to not even a church, but I ended up meeting these kids, one of them being my health mentor, Spencer Robbins. And I was just looking for more. Like, I had a 6-pack, I lost the weight, and I just still felt like there was something missing. There had to be something bigger. I went out there and I tried to search through everything, dude. I mean, I did Ouija boards all night, all the way to trying to do whatever, like anything I could find to see that there was something bigger. And throughout that experience led me to this kid, and I had this life transforming moment where I felt like for me, I had an experience where I believed I found out tangibly for myself that God was real. And I got this like heart ripping, like literally it felt like I got a new heart. I never liked to help people, dude. I was all about my own growth.
Yeah.
I would never stop to help someone else because I needed to grow. I needed to be the best. I left there. My parents even were confused. They didn't even like it at first. They were like, you're so different. Like, I wasn't doing the same things that I was doing. I wasn't acting the same way. I wanted to help people in a different way. And that for me has been something that led me to my wife and I's relationship, that commonality. It led me to 15 different countries. It led me to start my business. It led me to stand out inside of my business. It helped me gain confidence when I was a carpet cleaner for 2.5 years, trying to provide for my family. And I knew I wasn't a broke carpet cleaner. That was just an experience that I was having. And it was all led for me from my relationship with God and my experience more so with that more than a book. Though I was really interested by the Bible and stuff like that, because I was like, why do people open this crap all the time? They always open it, they read it, they close it. I'm like, what other book do you just like always open and you like read a little bit? So I was like, I need to get one of those. I didn't know they got handed out on every street corner and more in every hotel. I was like, who can give me one of these? Because I was genuinely excited and still am that expectant and excited to this day. And it's the for me, the best example of influence, I mean, think about it. Like we live in 2020 AD. Like it's just crazy. Like billions of followers. Like it's just wild, that experience and how much you can learn from it. And for me, it's more of a tangible experience more than a mental experience.
That's such a beautiful share. Thank you so much. I mean, spirituality and being connected with sources has been such a powerful medicine for me as well. So I can definitely relate. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have Nicholas Bayerle, founder of Billion Dollar Body and leading a men's group. And guys and ladies, please check him out. Nick, thank you so much for your time and being with us today. And I hope to talk to you again soon, buddy.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to kienvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at kienvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.